Well, I've been in Avon for over 30 years.
We have a lot of families that have farms here. They're still active participants in the community.
I'm from this area originally. I grew up in a town not far from Avon.
Even this well-run community in Connecticut knew it would face financial difficulties in trying to fund its OPEB liabilities in the first year.
We have very few revenue sources that we can count on. Specifically in Connecticut, we're very reliant on the property tax to fund the provision of public services.
Could be 75–80% of the total revenue source for a town.
And that revenue source is under tremendous pressure.
Especially since 2008 with the market turmoil.
We have taxpayers that are losing their jobs. They're on fixed incomes.
Particularly with the economic downturn, municipal revenues have been dropping at the same time that the demand for services is the same or even increasing.
The town of Avon and most communities want to do right by their employees, but those benefits come at a cost.
We started extending retiree health benefits to employees as a trade-off for closing defined benefit pension plans.
Those benefits have always been provided, but no one has ever put a dollar figure on how much those benefits are worth.
Healthcare costs have been growing at double-digit trends. So on a budgetary basis overall, those costs are increasing, and that's your second largest budget item next to salaries.
The interesting thing about GASB 45 is there's no requirement to actually fund the benefit. The requirement itself states that they have to measure and report what the financial promise or obligation is.
Now that's still important because rating agencies come in and look at the reports within the financials, and it could affect the ability for your town or board to borrow money.
We've suddenly disclosed that we have $50 million worth of liability. How will the rating agencies react to that?
The bond rating to a community is extremely important. The bond rating in Avon is AAA rated by Moody's and Standard & Poor.
Our public sector clients don't want to end benefits. They want to find the ways to get the most benefit for the least money or a reasonable financial goal.
GASB 45 came along and shone a bright light on the size of those liabilities.
The liabilities were huge, in some cases entered into the billion-dollar range.
And that's why you bring in outside consultants to assist you in determining not only what your liabilities may be, but also strategies for dealing with those.
They had Milliman do evaluation of the retiree medical benefits as early as 2000.
So we had an idea of what the impact was going to be, but how to build that into the budget and what was the plan.
It's our job to help them come up with solutions for how to mitigate that liability.
GASB 45 is typically an unwanted burden for our clients, but it's important that they look at the results and really consider what it means to them and to their long-term financial situation.
So if a plan sponsor establishes a retiree medical trust to pay for the benefits, we can look at the expected investment income for that trust and use it to establish a discount rate.
If we didn't establish a trust and we had this liability, obviously we would have to start a plan or develop a plan to fund it.
There was a study done in California a few years ago that concluded that perhaps 2/3 or 3/4 of the retiree medical benefits would be paid for with investment income over the long term.
When we decided to use the trust as our funding vehicle and actually establish the trust fund, we had another discussion on, do we take this money in the reserve in its entirety, or should we phase it in?
Rather than funding the full OPEB liability in the first year, Milliman recommended that this be funded over time.
We determined to invest a fair amount of the principal the first year and then phase it in over a period of 7 years.
Funding it over time allowed the funding mechanism to assume a greater interest rate in investments, which in turn lowered the liability, which in turn lowered the annual cost. There were a variety of benefits to the approach identified by Milliman, all of which helped the town use its own budget structure and decision-making to get to the point where it could fully fund its OPEB liability.
We've been very fortunate in having strong consulting arrangements to be able to develop a strategy for dealing with our continuing liabilities.
If we had not started the early funding, we probably would have lost some credibility, which is very important when you're working with residents in local government.
It's a wonderful feeling knowing that we've been able to help a community start down the path towards a financially sound retirement program, knowing that in the long term, pre-funding the benefits has significant advantages for them.